Hi, I am Carlye from KickUp. We're a company of former educators working with school districts and PD providers nationally to leverage their professional learning data towards improving their professional learning and to growing their educators. So I'm really excited to get you started on your virtual coaching log, which is a tool that we know districts have found especially useful in this unexpected shift to remote learning. Within this video, I'm going to aim to cover first just some basics to make sure that you're confident about collecting your data and accessing your report. And then I'm going to spend the bulk of the time walking you through a sample report just so you have a sense of what the data is going to look like once you've collected it. My hope is that this will be helpful as you invest your teams in collecting the data. But I also am including a link below where you can schedule a full walkthrough with KickUp team member where we'll go through your actual data, and we can also provide you with a custom link that you can use to share with the coaches and others on your team. So to get started, I'm going to flip my screen. And I'm going to start where it all starts with your data collection tool. So within that email that invited you to KickUp, you also received a custom link to your form that should look like kickup.co/your organization's name. When you click that, you should see a form that actually has your organization's logo here at the top. That's the link that you're going to share with your coaches. They're going to use that same form every single time, so you can go ahead and pin that in places. That link is not going to change. In terms of data collection tips, two things that we've seen organizations leverage to increase their response rates. The first one is unfortunately unglamorous. It's just reminders. When we're building new data habits, it takes some reminding. Innovative ways I've seen people do that reminding, asking about it during check-ins or making a point to shout out people who have collected their logs. Sending out a personal note reminding people at the end of the day to fill in their coaching log, and other positive kind of incentives that you can put around submitting your coaching hours. It's really critical, especially in the first couple of weeks, that you have those reminders because we know that coaches have a lot on their plate, and it takes a little bit of practice to start using the log. But once you've done that, that effort really pays off in the second piece, which is the data takeaways. And so this is something we really, really recommend sharing with your team, especially in that first week. Sharing some of the visualizations and the conclusions that you drew from the data that they submitted. For the first week, you might consider sharing this video where they can see a sample report, again, just to kind of get them invested in why they're submitting a new log. So I'm going to jump into showing you what that report looks like now. So when you log into KickUp, your login screen should look somewhat similar. But if you're just getting started, you may only have one report here, which is how you found this video. That's completely fine. Your report is not misconfigured. What happens is that KickUp shows you your report once you have at least one submission coming in. So once you actually started collecting data, our system will process it within 15 minutes of submission, and then you will see your report appear. So I'm going to click into a sample. And just to orient you to your dashboard, in the top here, I have the name of the report. It shows me also how many submissions are being counted within the report and when the last one was submitted. I also have a quick link to go back to my coaching log form if I would like it. Underneath here, I have the tabs that are really organizing the data, and this is where I can get into the details. So I'm going to hop into our first tab, which is the actual aggregated coaching log. And the first thing that I see here are three widgets that kind of give me some numbers in aggregate. So this first one is about coaching hours. It tells me how many total coaching hours have been logged. The second one tells me how many participants have received coaching or participated in coaching. And then the last one tells me how many submissions I've had to the coaching log. So these numbers in aggregate can be powerful by themselves in either shouting out your team for how many coaching hours they've logged that week or actually provided that week, as well as maybe reporting up to a superior who wants to know how your coaching has been affected by COVID to show that the coaching hours are still happening. But if I want to dig a little bit deeper, I can use these group by tools to find some trends. So right now it's grouped by schools. You could imagine different school names here instead of option one, option two. And I could see that this first school has the most number of coaching hours. So we're spending a lot of time in school one. But I also could dig in and look at things like role, topics, or specific coach. So if I jumped into role, you can imagine that this might be a grouping of content. So I could say my math teachers have actually participated in 4 hours of coaching versus my English teachers here have only participated in 2.5. If I collected coach names in their submissions, I can also see how many hours individual coaches have logged as well. So this kind of just gives me a nice view for finding trends. But if I want to dig in a little bit more, I also asked them to provide any notes or next steps. So this can be really useful as an administrator at a high level to search for trends. And one thing I might do in order to do that is I could actually filter for keywords. So say that one of the topics in our staff meeting that's come up a lot is student collaboration. I can search for any notes that mention collaboration and then select them, and I can actually tag them. So do student collaboration as a tag. And now you'll see I get a nice little bar chart that shows me how many people are mentioning collaboration, so I can determine really whether or not it's a largely present trend. The other way that I can use this is by exercising my filter tool. And this filter tool you'll see floats throughout the report. It allows me to determine what data is feeding into my report. So I could filter down to where I only want to see one coach's data. So I want to check out Dolly Parton's coaching. And now I'm only seeing her responses. So this is a really useful view for a coach themselves. If they've tagged next steps, they can quickly filter down just to their own notes and see any next steps that they might have recorded here. And you'll notice that when that filters on, it affects the whole report. So now all of my widgets are showing me just Dolly's log responses. So if I want to go back to my larger view, I can just go ahead and quickly clear that out. And now I'm back to all 11 of my responses. So I'm going to jump into the second tab. If I want to look at coaching reflections, this is where I get my personal favorite visualization, which is a heat map. When you're orienting yourself to a heat map, the first thing to look at here is this group by. This tells you what the different columns represent. I can also click here to see which specific indicator I'm reporting on. So in this one, we asked coaches about how effective they felt this interaction was in driving learning and growth. And right now it would be showing me schools, so individual school names, so I could see how effective coaching has been within that. But as always, I have lots of different group by options here. So one way I might want to group it, again, would be to look at coaches. And I notice a trend here. I noticed that Dolly actually has some lower scores. If I hover over, I can see how that score broke down. So she has one that was pointedly less effective in her coaching log. And then if I scroll down here, I can use this open-ended response because we asked them why this interaction was more or less effective. I can scroll down and I can see her reasoning behind why it was less effective. And then lastly, this all submissions tab just gives you a nice comprehensive view of everything that's been logged. I can click this action button and download as a CSV, or again, I could use this as a good opportunity to filter either down to just a specific cohort of schools. So I could give a principal maybe an aggregate look at all of the responses from their building, or I could also filter down to coach, any ways that I want to just see the data in one specific view. So that's it for now. But obviously there's so much more that I could be showing you through your report. So just another reminder that if you're interested in getting a custom walkthrough, you can click that link below to schedule some time on our calendar. And we can also give you that shareable link. Otherwise, I hope that this tool proves to be valuable for you and your team. And please reach out if there's anything that we can do to help you as you start using your coaching log.